going on, everyone? Welcome to FreeSpace Now. I'm your host, John Willis, and today we have, once again, the lovely Elise Pierotti with us. Elise, how are you?
John, I'm enjoying sunny Florida. I can't complain. 85-degree weather the entire month of February. So, I have that little bit of like Florida glow on me. Got a little bit of sun this past weekend, so I'm good.
Nice. I have the Arizona glow on me. We call it melanoma with my skin tone. So for those of you who don't know, Elise is one of the co-founders of FreeSpace Social. She's been with us since the beginning. She's also the former CMO of Parler. So she comes from the social media world. And we are very happy to have her on our team. We've got a lot of great things happening with FreeSpace. We're in a really cool transition period because we're getting ready to transition from our beta platform, our 1.0 platform to our 2.0 platform that's coming out. We're shooting for the end of next month, but let's play it safe and let's just say early May. But I know all of you will enjoy it because the FreeSpace 2.0 platform is going to have everything that you love about social media and nothing that you don't love about social media. All the fact checking, shadow banning, that's not going to be on 2.0. So everything you love and nothing that you hate. So Elise, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the world, and in social media ends up being the main information source for people now that nobody trusts the news anymore. No one trusts newspapers. And so people come to social media to get their news and information. And people are even flocking towards alternative platforms because they know that the information that is there is not filtered through biased fact checkers. We at FreeSpace do not do any of that because of two reasons. Number one, we don't believe in it. And number two, we don't want to pay for it. So let's first talk about what's on everybody's mind right now, and that is climate change, because that is the most important thing that we need to worry about. Forget about gas prices, forget about the war, forget about inflation. We need to worry about the oceans and seas flooding and boiling and the whole world coming to the end because of evil SUVs. Is that right? Is that what the most important thing that's on everyone's mind right now? Because that's what John Kerry said. It's climate change.
Yeah, I think Greta Thunberg would agree with you, but the general public at the gas pump would not. They'd probably just want to really change your mind. But
and her reaction to the general public would be, "How dare you?
How dare you not have an electric
with her pigtails? How dare you talk about gas prices? It's killing the world." Yeah.
No, the basic thing here, though, is that they're trying to make us feel like general things like necessities like gas, even meat, and all those products that like you're selfish to want to feed your family, to get to school, to get to work. How dare you do those things? And it's all things that we have to do, as Americans in society. And the fact that there's such scarcity of it now, when you get a little bit more, they're like, oh, you're welcome. You're welcome that you can even get gas. And it shouldn't be that way.
Or, if things are going really well, like, how dare you hoard all this stuff? How dare you make so much money? You're part of the 1%ers. You're racist because you have more toilet paper than your neighbor, because toilet paper consumption is racist, I've been saying it quite a bit on the show. We live in bizarro world right now. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
I open up, obviously, FreeSpace is my number one app, but anytime I open up other apps and stuff like that, I'm always amazed. Even like TikTok's the one, keep up with it just because of all the features we have coming out. Some of the videos I see, some of the opinions, I have to like take a seat back and just be like, are we living in the Twilight Zone, or am I seeing the same news? What is happening here? Because it's also like a lot of the people, that voted in this election, they're getting, digging a deeper hole because they don't want to admit, hey, probably didn't make the right decision or should have done this. And in order for them to feel better about it, they're just coming up with these absurd, ideas. And even like with the oil and gas that's going on right now, it's the Ukraine's fault. Gas prices have been going up since January of 2021. If you've been paying attention, and all of us have been getting gas since then. So it's really goes back to misinformation that you're talking about. these platforms actually aren't targeting misinformation, because if they were, a lot of the people putting this out, like even President Biden, should have been fact checked like 2 days ago in a press conference when he said the only reason gas prices are going up is because of Russia. Because it's actually, it's not true. They've been going up since he killed the pipeline.
Yep, in January 2021. Yeah, I'm now calling the Democrat Party, and I need to preface this by saying I've got my issues with the Republican Party too.
Me too.
But I am calling the Democrat Party the Jan Brady Party, because everything is Russia, Russia, Russia. Anything that's going wrong is Russia's fault right now. It's not that the fact that they stopped all domestic, they cut the leases up in Anwar and other places around the country. It's not the fact that they killed the Keystone Pipeline. It's all because of Russia invading Ukraine. So here you've got these clowns that literally are saying we're going to ban all Russian oil, but we're going to go do deals with the Saudis as well as the Venezuelans, because they're better for our interests. So we're going to go do a deal with Maduro, another communist leader that's literally running over his own people with tanks. I mean, we've all seen the video of what happened in was it Caracas? He's literally made Venezuela, which used to be one of the wealthiest, I think maybe number two or three in the Western Hemisphere, to one of the most impoverished because of their, him and Hugo Chavez before him, because of their massive and totalitarian communist type of mindsets. And so now Biden and his administration are going down there to try to do a deal to get Venezuelan oil back here, to get Saudi oil back here. And we're sitting on, I think I read something the other day, it was 11 trillion barrels of oil is what we have. That's what our capacity is, or that not our capacity, but that's what we have the ability to pump out. 11 trillion. So we have more oil deposits than anywhere else in the world, but we're not going to touch it because the party of Jan Brady is they're too beholden to the radical environmental left that feels that we all should be living as cavemen and doing everything by candlelight. But then again, candlelight emits carbon into the atmosphere. So we're really just supposed to see at night with the bright of our eyes. The reflection of the stars in our eyes is how we're supposed to illuminate things now.
It really goes into too, like anything the government gets into, it messes with it. Like, oil and all that stuff should technically just really be a private business, and they should be making deals that, are the best interest of America. If you also think about with the UAE and Venezuela, a lot of them, like even Venezuela, they produce oil, but they don't produce the amount that they export. So they're getting it from somewhere else. So Biden cuts off oil production with Russia. Okay. But Russia is still selling oil to the UAE, to Venezuela. So like, what are we doing anything right by buying it from them? Because we're just basically paying more money to get it from these just to pay for the travel of the oil, when we actually, like you mentioned, have all of the resources within our country. And it's crazy to see, just based off of regulation, what's going on, because under President Trump, we actually were energy independent for the first time in years. I don't know the exact amount of years, but for the first time in a long time, we were.
It's probably about 2.
Yeah, about 2 years. And then, January 2021 happens. And then from there, I think it was within the first month, the Keystone Pipeline gets shut down. And then it just brings us to where we are here, when technically you have like South Dakota, you have all those different places. We have more natural resources than many of these other countries, but in the name of Greta Thunberg and all these people, America can't do it, but these other countries can, and weaken our own, security, or everything that we can do within our country, because, we can't hurt the climate, but other countries can. Just tell me where that makes sense.
Oh, it doesn't, because, the Paris Climate Accords and some of the other global environmental initiatives were really geared to only punish the United States. We're the ones that have to fund it, and then we're the only ones that are actually held accountable if we don't abide by it. Yet you have two of the greatest polluting countries in the world that have nothing to do with it, India and China. Honestly, I think I could be wrong. Here's my theory. Hear me out here, Miss Elise. I think if the media just made one change to what they do, just made one small change during White House press conferences, it could literally save our country. Okay, and here's what I think. If Jen Psaki or Biden in his fake Oval Office set that they've been using lately for some reason, which makes no sense, if the media just sat there and listened, and then whenever the Biden administration, came out with a new talking point, and the media just did this. Honestly, if they just did that, I truly think that things would change. Like, Jen Psaki gets up there and she says, there's nothing that President Biden has done that has caused oil prices to go up. It's strictly Russia.
It's so funny if that would be the case, because the way the administration is rolling, it kind of does remind me a little bit about like Veep or even like The Office, because they come in and they say things that like are so absurd, and it's what they want you to think. It's not real, it's like, this is my interpretation and I hope that you actually believe me, and then click the laugh button. It was like, Kamala Harris the other day, it was like, you get what you vote for, and this is like the day after gas prices are surging, World War III is starting, and she's like, and you guys voted for us, so this is what you got. And she was dead serious. She's like, really thinking that people would completely disassociate all the chaos in our country and the world from the fact that they're, president and vice president.
We actually have audio of her speech today from Poland, because President Biden sent her over to Poland. Let me see. I'm going to have to edit this. Okay. Oh, here's the tail end of it. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you can hear her. Oh, wait. That cackle. Yeah, that's her right there. Yeah. So.
Can't miss her.
Ladies and gentlemen, John has figured out how to use sound effects on this podcast, and I'm going to have way too much fun with it.
It's so funny, too, though, because as, different age groups, and, I think about like all the history books I've read about like World War II and stuff, and these things are happening in our world. And now that we have social media, crazy things are happening and we're all memeing about it. And it's funny because, you have to make light of it, but it just makes you wonder, like, back in the day, and obviously they had all their, war propaganda and things like that. It's like, were they laughing or trying to make light of war as much as we are now? And I mean, obviously they didn't have, TikTok, they didn't have FreeSpace, they didn't have other outlets to get this out. But it just makes me curious, what they would think to see us now that we're just turning war into memes.
Well, think about this. This is the first war that is broken out during the social media age.
Yeah.
So think about that. So, and I'm talking first world country war. I'm not talking about us, or anyone going to war in, Syria or the Sudan or anything like that, or Libya. I'm talking about first world countries going to battle. And the fact that Elon Musk was able to get Starlink over Ukraine, give them the internet service through satellite, you're starting to see President Zelensky in Ukraine utilize social media to his advantage. In fact, they're saying he's using World War II tactics that Winston Churchill used in order to rally the troops and rally his people and create unity among the people of Ukraine. But the fact that he's using social media like Instagram, Facebook, and all that is interesting. And so, like, if you look at Russia, for instance, Russia has banned Facebook. I don't know if you knew that. They banned Facebook, when was it, last Friday, Thursday, something like that?
Meta, they banned?
Yes,
No
they banned Meta.
I know Facebook corrected them and said it was actually Meta, so they don't like to be...
we identify as Meta now. But But the good news is because Meta has been banned in Russia, they are now searching for alternative platforms to post on, and so they will probably be looking at FreeSpace and Truth and some of these other apps. So good for welcome to our world, Facebook. Now you know what it's like being banned. It's a little ironic.
You're going to start rumors, and the next article that comes out is Russian collusion on FreeSpace.
Hello, I'm John Willis. Nice to meet you, CEO of FreeSpace. It's very nice to meet you. Здравствуйте. Здравствуйте, comrade. Anyways. Yeah, now that people are starting to see what ADD really looks like.
No, that's why I think it's so fun doing podcasts with you, John. But I think the other thing too, when it comes to like social media and stuff, and this isn't like it's a dating app, but they found like Ukrainians used Tinder to find out where some Russians were because they were trying to like find Ukrainian girls and nearby where their camps were. So they actually used that as a tactic too. So I think social media and how it's used is very, very interesting, and people are getting creative on how to really master it.
Okay, looking for hot Russian chick. Okay. Oh, okay, well, there's a Russian soldier. He would look good with bullet in head. Okay. Send missile that way. I saw today that Kamala announced at the little Polish press conference that she did that I guess we just delivered some anti-Patriot missile defense systems to Poland. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it the Democrats that were ticked that we were giving Poland defense systems in the first place? I could be wrong on that. I know Russia wasn't happy with it, but I'm pretty sure, excuse me, that the Democrats were upset when Trump tried to put some sort of defense system in Poland. I could have that way off. I bet for some reason I'm thinking like that, but I could be off. But
another thing that's interesting about it too, and I haven't heard her speech yet. I'll have to listen to it. I try to like.
Well, hold on. Here it is. Here it is, right here. Thank you.
I'm speaking, John. I'm speaking. But I think that it's very interesting to see the party that like hates guns too, to now be like, oh, go Ukraine, protect yourselves. And it's like, it's kind of the model of like why we need the Second Amendment if something happens, right? So the fact that they're now praising it and like doing it, I agree with them. But it's pretty ironic to see all of these things, like they want this and now they're like pro-war when it used to be not pro. I can't really keep up with, what is popular in the mainstream. It changes every single day. Everything is like a woke Olympic style thing. And it's like, I'm with this today. Yesterday it was Dr. Fauci. Now it's Zelensky. It's like you have to pick who the hero of the day is to go along with the mainstream narrative. It's pretty wild.
Whatever happened to Dr. Fauci? We don't see him anymore. We don't hear about COVID anymore.
I know.
Thanks, Russia. Russia did us a huge favor. They got rid of Fauci for us, and they got rid of COVID. So who knew that Russia would be the cure of COVID? Man,
I know.
I guess there's silver lining in every cloud. The other thing I want to talk about is Truth Social has been out for let's see. I've been on it for a while. I've been on their test app.
You're a VIP.
Which I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why they invited me to test it, but it's cool. I mean, it's very basic. I mean, I don't have any gripes about Truth. I think, well, I have a theory. So we have worked with the president. Elise and I have been, or we did last year. We met with them, and it's all documented. It's in the there's articles you can find about it, and we were part of what I call a bait and switch campaign, where it looked like president was coming to FreeSpace, but that wasn't the case. I'm wondering if the app that's out right now is another bait and switch type of campaign, because you're looking at Trump, who is one of the best self-promoters in history. I mean, we've sat across from him at tables. I mean, you know him really well. Used to work for him, but he there's not a moment where he's not talking about something Trump related, which is fine, you know. And here he has his own platform, and he rarely talks about it. You know, like even at CPAC, he mentioned it, but he wasn't like, okay, everyone, you need to get your number, get your waiting list on Truth Social, okay? It's going to be the greatest non-Twitter app out there, okay? You know, just, you don't hear him talking like that in any of the appearances. Like he was just on Bob Menery's podcast yesterday. I think he briefly spoke about Truth Social. But he hasn't really been doing what you would think he'd be doing, being the Donald and having his own social media platform. And he hasn't even posted on there yet. There's been one post. It wasn't by him. So I think something's up.
I think something is up too. If there's not, you know, call us and we can help if there's not something else up the sleeve. But like, I can't believe that would be the case. I'm still on the waiting list for Truth. I'd love to check it out and see it, but I'm not in yet. I think I'm like 98,000 to get in the door. But the one thing I could say, just from, you know, background in tech and seeing things come up, server space, and you talked about this in an interview on Newsmax the other week, like whenever you're hosting as many people that would come to a platform like Truth or things like that, you actually have to know how many servers to turn on, and servers take up a lot of space. They're very expensive. Obviously he has the funding, but like, I think what they're trying to do is gauge how many people are going to come onto the platform. However, you still need to be able to get them on the platform and do it quickly and turn it on and things like that. So I do understand where they're coming from in the sense of like being in beta and launching and things like that. But it is a little bit of like an underwhelming launch, like you said, because you would think you'd be hearing from Trump all the time, like, you can't handle the truth, things like that, like more fun, like, you know, coming from marketing, I'm thinking of like 20 different things that you could be doing right now to really like, you know, up the buzz. I mean, obviously his brand tells itself, but you still have to, you know, when you're launching a company, you have investors, all that kind of stuff. You really have to be doing it in such a way that you're going to get everybody.
Well, and I don't think, well, we always knew, you and I always knew that they were going to do a waiting list because they were trying to figure out how to scale this. And this type of launch is not uncommon. For those of you who know what Clubhouse is, Clubhouse was also invite only because they didn't have the cash to put the servers together, and also the fact you just can't throw an app onto servers. I mean, there's certain code and middleware that you have to write in order for it to speak clearly and properly to these servers. So when you do have to launch a few other servers or, you know, pods or whatever we have to do to increase the size to handle the daily active users, you know, all that code has to be written in a way that can be easily scaled, and it takes time. I mean, just to write your average middleware takes 3 months, and so we always knew that the TMTG group would be doing a waiting list type of thing because that's normal. You know, most people don't realize Facebook, for instance, has 40 million square feet of servers. 40 million. So if you do math, that's a little over 900 and I think it's 940 or 950 acres of servers. So it's a mile and a half square of server space, and that's a lot of servers around the world. I mean, so 40 million square feet of servers. Now, your average server takes up 1 square foot. You know, they're not very big. You know, a server rack is not very big. It's about 1.5 feet square. So you have 40 million, and Facebook has what, 2 billion or, you know, 2.5 billion users, maybe more. And so Trump, you know, my opinion, I think Truth will probably end up with, it'll probably be 100 million user platform once they get to full capacity, or once they kind of plateau with their growth. I think it'll probably be 100 million users, but it's not going to be overnight. And it's, unless you have data centers ready to go that have those type of servers that are specifically designed to scale like that, it's not going to happen overnight. And that's why you have to do what they're doing right now. So when I hear people like saying, oh, Trump failed or Trump's furious about this launch, no, he's not. Trump would be furious if he went out there and pitched it nonstop on every single news outlet that he can get on, and then it flopped. He's hardly talking about it. He's hardly talking about it at all, which makes me think this is all 100% planned. They know what they're doing. And I'm not talking like a QAnon type of plan. I'm just saying in regular tech rollout, because we've done it. We're right in the middle of it. We know exactly what he's doing. We know exactly what's going on. And frankly, I'm not worried about it. The way I look at truth is the Twitter alternative. FreeSpace is the Facebook, Instagram, and eventually start with our new platform, the TikTok alternative. And you need those alternatives in order to make sure that everyone has a voice, has an opinion, and has a platform in order to feel welcome and for us, and I've said it on the news, you've said it in interviews, FreeSpace isn't just for conservatives. It's not just for Republicans. It's for everybody. We want everybody on there. And we don't care what ideology you are. We want it to be a platform for everyone. We're just not going to have the same type of mindset that big tech has. We want to have a freedom mindset, and freedom is not a bad thing, folks. I don't care if you're left wing. You want freedom. You don't want a true communist type of world. If you do, then you have no clue what freedom really is. I mean, look at all the people that are escaping Cuba or trying to get away from these communist regimes all around the world. That if you look at the numbers, communism and socialism, they've killed over 100 million people in the last 100 years. That ideology has killed 100 million people. You've had 6 million plus in Germany with National Socialism. You had 12 to 18 million in Russia with Stalin and everyone else after him, Khrushchev and all the Russian leaders that followed them. You had 60 to 70 million in China. So with Mao and all the dictators since then. So you look at this type of ideology, and this ideology always ends up in mass genocide. And so in order to get to that point, these totalitarian type of governments or parties or ideologies, the first thing that they always do is they try to control the culture. They control the culture by controlling the information. And if you can control the information and the platforms that information is dispersed on, then you're able to take that path of having total control of the people. And so here in the United States, we're in a very dangerous position because big tech has had such control on everyday Americans because they all the data that they collect, they have it on all of us. I mean, they know more about us than we do. And they sell all that data to the government. I mean, that's a well-documented fact. And that's how they control culture. They control information through fact-checking, through cancel culture. And then the cancel culture and the fact checking is really how they can discredit anyone. Even if the person's telling the 100% truth, they'll use the power that they have with their tech to completely discredit that someone or that person. And then eventually they have the power. Now, it's blown up in their face a few times over the past couple of years, especially with Trump, because everything that they tried hammering him with, they failed miserably. But now we're starting to see we're seeing a tide. We're seeing countries around the world, because we hear it personally here at FreeSpace, that countries think that some of these big tech companies are nothing but spy agencies. That literally, well, they are. They sell all the data to the governments. They don't trust big tech. They don't trust anything that they're doing, and so they are looking for alternatives. They're looking for alternatives for social media, for chat, for banking, for all sorts of services, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to provide those alternatives to them.
Yeah, I mean, it really just goes into also the data privacy thing. like your footprint is worthwhile to all of these companies. So they're tracking, what restaurants you go to, all these things. Like every single app that you download now is like, we want your location, we want this, we want that, because they're basically making like a profile on you. Also with the Face ID, all that kind of stuff. And so it's incredibly important for there to be other companies to come out that people have the option to use, solely because like if you're only using those three, you don't have another option. You don't have a chance to say, hey, I don't actually want to continue sharing my data. And, having companies like ours and others that actually respect, your privacy, all those things, is incredibly important because, we don't have any, ulterior motive. We're not trying to take over the world. We're not trying to, sway elections like Facebook did. We really just want people to have a voice and to also be able to enjoy social media again, where, you make a meme and you put it on Instagram and it's like, oh, fact checkers say this. And I think you've gotten hit with this before, John, that it's actually like a joke. It's completely, satire, and there's a fact check on it. And it's actually humorous because does Instagram really think that people don't know that that's a joke? So you can't even make jokes anymore. It's wild. And I promise you, if you come on FreeSpace and you post a meme, we actually have a button for it. We will not fact check your meme. That's a pledge that we make to you.
I saw a meme today. It was on FreeSpace. It was a Joe Biden meme that said, "Hey Joe, what religion is your son?" Hunter said, "Oh, he's a Crystal Methodist." Now, if that was on Facebook, be like, Hunter Biden is not a Crystal Methodist. Crystal Methodist is not Italy, not really a church. Well, then, according to Catholics, Methodism is not a church either.
That's funny, John. Fact checkers say that Crystal Methodist is actually not an ordained church, something like that.
Really?
Oh my god! And it's actually like kind of insulting because you're trying to tell me that I don't know that that's a joke. The other thing I heard someone say on a podcast on like a more serious note is that like if you see the fact checking buttons, follow the fact check of like what they don't want you to believe, and then actually be a journalist and research that, and you'll probably uncover a big story. Because if you start seeing a whole bunch of checks that they don't want you to like read these articles or believe them, there's probably some information there that you should research or that you want to find out.
Yeah.
So that's like a good alternative. Any investigative journalists listening, go ahead and do that, and you might find some real journalism to post.
I think 90% of the time, and this is just a fact according to John, if it's fact checked, it's true.
6 to 8 months, and you'll be.
I mean, like all the fact checking that happened with January 6th last year, and then you have last night you had James O'Keefe release that video. Because one of the things that was always fact checked is that there was no FBI informants or agents in disguise at January 6th, and then the video that came out yesterday with Project Veritas, they've got the New York Times journalist on video saying, "Oh yeah, we all knew that they, all the FBI informants that were there, no one was in danger. None of our lives were in danger. That was just all a big joke. We all got a kick out of it." And that was all on tape. And, but, fact checked and, everyone's like, they treat January 6th like it was 9/11. And yet they completely ignore the fires and destruction that Antifa and BLM did all across the country. Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, DC, Chicago, New York, that just destroyed businesses, literally killed people. And I don't know. Bizarro world. Anyways.
Yeah. You should have a noise for it, like the Twilight Zone, like, alternative universes that they want you to believe. Like even like the headline, the insurrection documentary was the main thing on CNN for 6 months straight from January of last year, even till now. I think there's still a few journalists or congressmen that they're getting counseling for it because it was so daunting that they were in their offices. And it's just, they're really trying to make us believe in a whole different reality than we're not experiencing. Some of us see it, some of us don't, but it's all through the guise of the media. So if you're only seeing it from one side, or you're only seeing like the things that are fact checking, or like you believe those things, you're actually going to be living in a completely different world than even like the one you and I are living in.
I've said this many times. If the media or the federal government would report the news, the biased news, or put out these policies, but do it with a German accent, everything would be way different. Everything would be like, okay, now we see what you guys are doing. Like the whole CDC. The CDC guideline says that you must wear the mask on the airplanes because you will die of the COVID. It's like, oh, okay. But if you have that accent, and I apologize if you're a German American and are offended by not only that I'm doing a German accent, but a really bad German accent. But no, I mean, like, honestly, that's how propaganda is. Propaganda is lies that are basically disguised as truth. And if you can just imagine, what these officials are saying, and just hear what they're saying with the German filter, with the Third Reich filter, you'll be able to say, oh yeah, they're Nazis. Okay, we get it now. This is fascism. Yeah, we get it now. So
science has changed is my new favorite one. Like science, you can uncover new, discoveries, but science doesn't necessarily change once you figure it out. So the fact that it changes by the month, it tells you that it's not actually science.
Well, I mean, what they need to say is, instead of believing the science, it's believe our science.
Yeah.
It's
our strategically funded science.
You must believe our science because our science is the best. We don't look at the truth. We look at just our opinion because our opinion is the science. So anyways, Elise, thank you for being on the show today. This was fun. We got some cool stuff coming up. Our next episode is going to be, I believe, with Wayne Dupree from the Wayne Dupree Show. So we're excited to have him on. He's been a great user and content creator on FreeSpace and as well as everywhere else.
An expert on all of the different platforms because he's an early adapter. He's a big supporter of anything new in tech. So shout out to Wayne. I hope it's a great conversation tomorrow. Should be fun.
But for those of you, make sure that you're following Elise on FreeSpace. And Elise, thank you so much for being here. And we will talk to you all soon. Have a great day, folks.
Thank you, John.